This camera is cheaply made, has constant light leaks, is super annoying to operate, super inconsistent, and it might be the best camera I've ever used. This is the SplitCam Image Fusion camera from Accoutrements. It uses double exposures and lens blinders to create wild images. These are novelty cameras, originally priced around $5, but now can be found new on eBay for about $20. It's hard to believe that you can buy a camera for less than the cost of the film that you put in it. The SplitCam relies on a simple trick to create these magic images. These lens covers, or as I like to call them, blinders, cover one half of the frame at a time, or both, but I can't guarantee your results are going to be visible. Once you take one photo, you recock the shutter with this lever. This resets the shutter without advancing the film, allowing for the double exposure. Next, cover the other half of the frame with the opposing blinder, recompose, and shoot. Composing your image can easily be done through the viewfinder with similar blinders and crosshairs for reference. This puts the SplitCam's functions into its most basic steps. The nice thing about it is there are no rules telling you how to shoot the camera. The manufacturers use examples that encourage you to fuse two subjects together, like sticking your dog's head on your body. However, I found it more rewarding to stray from the more gimmicky style and pick up a more surrealist vibe. That's where I get the Inception camera nickname. Is that even relevant anymore? Maybe I should call it the Doctor Strange mirror dimension camera to keep up with the times, but that doesn't really roll off the tongue as well. Inception is 12 years old. Wild. If I were to guess, this camera shoots at about 1/60th of a second, but according to sources I found online, it's actually 1/100th. I don't know if I believe that because this camera seems to suffer from a good amount of camera shake, and even with 200 ISO film, if you shoot in direct daylight, your images can tend to be blown out. According to the same sources, this camera has an f8 fixed aperture and unsurprisingly a fixed focus as well. Let's just say the price reflects the quality, and the list of issues I have with this is not short. I mean, just listen to this. First off, I've literally had pieces of this camera fall off in my hands while I'm shooting. The crosshairs on my camera that are used to compose the image are actually misaligned and tilted, which actually reflects in some of the images. Additionally, the shutter blinders on my camera were misspaced as well. Bottom blind covers slightly more of the frame than the top blind. This causes the actual composition to be pretty far off from what you might be picturing based on the crosshairs. I've experienced my fair share of light anomalies with this camera. Some are light leaks and flaring, but others I don't even know what caused them. And some photos had such bad color casting that I just made them black and white to try to save them. Another thing that I've noticed is the second exposure of each frame is slightly blurry, as if it's suffering from camera shake. I'm wondering if shooting it upside down may affect the shutter slightly when shooting. Now we'll move on to what it's like to actually shoot with this camera. It's very easy to forget to adjust your lens blinders before taking your next shot. The camera has two sets, one that covers the actual lens for shooting and the one that covers the viewfinder for reference. On multiple occasions I've found myself covering the viewfinder and not the lens and not realizing it until after I take the photo, resulting in images like this. Similarly, it's easy to get into old habits and just immediately advance the film instead of recocking the shutter. These photos, however, are great examples of the blinder spacing issues, where you can easily see that the top blinder covers only about a quarter of the frame. Luckily, both of these issues are user error and can be easily avoided if you aren't me, which shouldn't be a problem for most of you. It can be a hassle to shoot. It can take a while to get through a roll because essentially you're taking 72 photos instead of 36, given most of those you're shooting back to back. It took me about 6 months to get through this roll, just because I was trying to take more photos in interesting locations and not just like around town. There are many things I wish the SplitCam had, features such as controllable aperture, shutter speed, and focus, interchangeable lenses. These additional bits would give it the capability to be a viable creative tool and not just a novelty toy. If the SplitCam were a couple $100 instead of $5, I think it would have been able to have the features it needed to be a legendary camera. Years before I knew about this camera, I was trying out a similar concept by literally taking two pieces of film, cutting them in half, and taping them together. It's a concept that I think a lot of photographers could benefit from messing around with. If the split cam could deliver results with the same consistency of some of these pictures, it'd be on every film shooter's wish list. This is by far the most unique camera I've ever used. When it works well, the photos it creates are one of a kind, and with a little forethought and planning, the creative possibilities are endless. I'm definitely going to be doing more with this camera. I mean, I like the concept so much, I bought a second one. This video is kind of just an introduction for the split cam, but I want to do another one where we try different ways of shooting it and come up with some cool photo concepts. For how cheap these are, I definitely think you should pick one up. You'll have a lot of fun shooting them, and I don't think they make them anymore, so the supply is dwindling. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like or a comment. I love talking to you guys about this type of stuff, and until next time, goodbye.